we wanted to answer one of the questions that we got on a Facebook post I put out a little while ago before we started doing this, asking if people had any questions that they wanted us to answer. And so we figured, we might as well start going through the list of some of them that appeared. So for today's question, it is from Oliver Selway, who asks, he's heard that he has a hard time understanding if some of the recommended changes for people over 40 or 50 years old are really necessary. These are things, when it comes to training, these are things like reducing the amount of weight that you're lifting, reducing the frequency to enhance recovery, etc. He wants to know if that stuff's really necessary if you have like the rest of your diet and lifestyle dialed in, or whether these changes really just apply to people that kind of do the standard American thing and also exercise regularly. And so the answer to this question is that no, you don't need to modify your training from what you were doing when you were younger, as long as you are recovering and not injuring yourself. So the big issue with aging is that your body's just experienced more wear and tear. And so you're going to have a higher risk of injuring yourself with heavier weights. Your stamina and strength will naturally kind of decline with aging. Even in people who make a living out of competitive bodylifting or powerlifting, once they get older, they simply can't lift as much weight as when they're younger. And that's just due to changes in the hormonal environment and, the accumulated damage over time. So you still want to be able to go strong. You just don't want to try and mimic what you were doing in your youth, because you probably aren't going to be able to do that, at least not without putting yourself at a high risk of injury. And so
So you would do the same exercises though, right?
Yeah, you could do the same exercises.
Maybe
you could
lighter?
It would have to be lighter because the relative intensity you're working at would be lower simply because you don't have as much strength and stamina as you did once before. So whereas your absolute load might go down, that relative load as a percentage of what you're maximally capable of doing would still stay the same. And an important piece of context there is in that question, assuming you have like the nutrition and lifestyle stuff dialed in. And so one of the most critical nutritional components is making sure that you're eating enough protein. In older adults, protein requirements increase to help battle sarcopenia, which is the age-related loss of muscle mass. And a kind of minimum for even just a normal, lightly active older adult is anywhere between 1.2 and 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. If you're regularly active and resistance training, your protein requirements are going to be pretty similar to when you were younger. Being as high as 1 gram per pound of body weight, and even higher, just depending on your personal situation.
And how active you are.
Yeah, and how active you are. Aside from protein, are there any nutritional recommendations you would make for?
Yeah, just focus on high fiber foods. I would definitely, if I was a female and I was older, I would check into hormone replacement therapy. And if your estrogen is low, you could add some phytoestrogens, but I would want to watch labs. And I think that hormone replacement therapy is probably the best, pills or creams.
Yeah.
And that will help with fat loss.
Mm-hmm.
Getting your hormones.
So that's a very good related topic here is, hormone replacement therapy has a lot of benefits.
There's been a lot of talk on how it's bad. Estrogen's bad. It causes breast cancer, and that's not true.
Everything's context dependent. In the same way, testosterone doesn't cause prostate cancer, but prostate cancer is receptive to some metabolites of testosterone. And so just like there's some estrogen positive breast cancers, you really kind of have to go on a case by case basis. But
it's not, what I was referring to is the fear mongering about estrogen in general. Like, people think that they're going to get breast cancer because the WHO came out with
completely
that study
agree.
saying that, but there were so many flaws in it. Estrogen Matters is the book that I would recommend checking out on the actual data and research.
And the book is called Estrogen Matters?
Yep.
Okay, cool. And we can link to that in the description of this video. The final thing I wanted to touch on here really too is for all the women out there, the evolutionary basis of menopause was believed to just be so that grandmothers and older women would stop competing with younger women to have children, and instead allocate their resources not to reproduction but to caring for these children so that they could then grow up, and if the children have a higher chance of survival, then there's a higher chance that the species carries on. So there was an evolutionary advantage, and it's theorized that natural selection kind of selected for menopause to happen so that those women could focus then on caring for the young. For men, that's not really the case. For men, it just seems to be that the Leydig cells of the testicles, which are the ones responsible for making sperm and testosterone, become less sensitive to luteinizing hormone with aging. And so for men, testosterone replacement therapy, there isn't an evolutionary advantage to having lower testosterone with aging. And so if it's something you're considering, there are really a lot of benefits to doing testosterone replacement therapy.
What you're saying is that there's not many men that would not benefit from replacement therapy.
Precisely.
As women, they have to decide around their context of their personal hormones.
Yes,
correct?
Exactly. And with that, I do also want to add the caveat that if you are a man who's considering testosterone replacement therapy, it's probably superior to go with a cream that you apply and wash off at regular intervals during the day, because testosterone follows a natural circadian rhythm in a healthy man. And so if you use injections, you are completely overriding your natural circadian rhythm of testosterone, where your levels will stay high for long periods of time. That's great if you want all of those anabolic effects, but that also increases the risk of all the side effects. And so instead, if you use creams where you apply it in the morning to amplify the natural rise that should occur in the morning anyway, and then you wash it off in the afternoon or at night when testosterone should be low due to the circadian rhythm, then you're going to be able to reduce the side effects and get a more natural kind of testosterone replacement.
Yes.
So that's
so
what
there's
we want to talk about.
There's not really much outside of hormone replacement therapy that is different for maintaining your activity levels, correct?
When it comes to physical activity and
fitness.
Nutrition, age doesn't really matter. The rules still apply. Go strong, eat a healthy diet, and do what you can personally do within the context of your health and your
don't be
recovery
pushing
ability.
yourself. Don't be doing CrossFit workouts or anything like that.
Yeah.
And that's all.